We want to be mindful of everyone's time this morning. So good morning and thank you everyone for joining us today. In today's webinar, we're going to go over some updates that were made to our charitable giving program. This will cover some changes that were made to our funding priorities, when and where you can find the application link to apply, and then also some quick tips on how to create a successful proposal. I'll go over some housekeeping items and then just a quick overview of what to expect in today's presentation. Next slide, please. For housekeeping items, we ask if you can please keep your mics muted throughout the presentation. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat box. We can get to them throughout the presentation or during our Q&A session at the end. The presentation today is being recorded and will be emailed to everyone within about a week of today. But you can also find the presentation and the recording on our new SalmonWellCares.org website under the resources page. Next slide. And what to expect today. We're going to start with our strategic philanthropy team introductions. We'll have guest speaker Jacob Coyne, executive advisor to the chairman, to go over the tribe's culture of giving. And then also our presentation, time for Q&A, and then a special announcement from the Salmon Human Resources Department, and then some announcements from our team. And to start with our strategic philanthropy team introductions, my name is Gina. I am the program associate for the strategic philanthropy department, and I've been with the tribe for about 18 years. Alberto?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Alberto Hasso. I'm the manager of strategic philanthropy. I oversee the tribe's Department of Strategic Philanthropy. I've been here for over 2.5 years. My former role was the Economic Development Program Officer. I'm excited to be with you all here today. Cami Ray?
Hi, my name is Camry James, and I am the operations specialist here for the Strategic Philanthropy Department. And I've been here about a year now, and I handle everything operations related within our department. Heidi?
Hi, I'm Heidi Robertson. I came just a few weeks after Cami Ray, so I've also been here just a little over a year. I'm the program officer for health. I work with the health-related grants and also the environmental grants. And I'm excited for today's webinar, and I hope you all get some good information out of it. Fawn?
Thank you, Heidi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Fawn White. I'm education officer for this year. I've been with Salmon Well 20 years, doing philanthropy work for about 15 of these years. I'm responsible for recommending funding and managing relationships with local school districts, K-12 schools, community colleges, four-year universities, including tribal colleges and universities, and nonprofit organizations. Thank you for joining us today. It is my pleasure to introduce Jacob Coyne, who has a special welcome message from the tribe. Mr. Coyne brings more than 20 years of experience in communications and public policy affecting American Indian tribes, tribal sovereignty, economic development, tribal government, and tribal gaming regulation to his position as executive advisor to the chairman of the Salmon Band of Mission Indians. As advisor, his responsibilities include providing governmental, management, political, and policy advice to the chairman on a variety of issues that may impact the tribe. He has extensive experience in external communications, managing press and media, legislative affairs, and philanthropy. Thank you, Jake, for being with us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year, first of all. And I'm guessing that most, if not all of us, are just happy to see. They say 2020 is hindsight is good. And we were happy to see 2020 in the rearview mirror. I'm not sure that anybody would want to relive 2020 over again. I mean, it was an interesting period, to be sure. Again, my name is Jacob Cohen. I am the executive advisor to the chairman. Chairman Ken Ramirez and the business committee at Salmon Well extend their greetings and also send their regrets that they're not able to be here with you today. And I'm sure they would have wanted to visit with you for just a little bit. But we think today you're going to be able to pick up some helpful hints and tips and how to make your partnership with Salmon Well even more effective, because that's what we're all about, is to try to make improvements in the way we serve our nonprofit partners, and in turn help you to be more effective in serving the constituents that you serve in your own right. If there is a foundational reason overall for Salmon Well's philanthropy, it probably would be that it's deeply rooted in the culture of the Yahaviatum clan, which is what the people of Santos Manuel or San Manuel call themselves. The Yahaviatum, or people of the Pines, are one of several clans of the greater Serrano Indian nation, whose aboriginal homelands take up more than 7 million acres in Southern California, including the area that we're in now. The tribe's philanthropy is driven essentially by two cultural principles that have sustained the people since their creation. First, Serrano Indians exercise governance over this vast territory that I just referenced, which takes up today most all of present-day San Bernardino County, which I'm sure you are aware this is the largest land-based county in the United States, taking in some 22,000 square miles. And to this day, the people of San Manuel continue to honor their creator-given, creator-endowed responsibilities to care for all living things that visit or occupy these lands. Second, the concept or value of Yawa. Yawa is a Serrano word meaning to act on one's beliefs. For San Manuel, it's important not only to hold these beliefs, but also to act on these, especially beliefs that involve serving others. These core values of serving others within the tribe's historical homelands, acting on one's beliefs, how San Manuel is really how San Manuel conducts its affairs and outreach programs in the region, in this region of the Inland Empire and across Indian country. The best part of our growth has been the opportunities to engage in important work with wonderful nonprofit, organizations and community groups in the Inland Empire region and across Indian country. The importance of your good work is manifested in how you serve our communities and helping to address critical social and economic issues that we continue to face. Today, COVID-19 obviously has complicated matters a little bit more for us, and it underscores again how much of a need there is in our service areas. San Manuel has partnered with more than 1,000 nonprofit and community organizations since 2003. The tribe supports education, self-determination for all, community development, and a focus on the development of opportunities for Native nations across the United States. Our resources are directed within 4 giving pillars that benefit communities and improve the quality of life for residents living in the Inland Empire region and in Indian country. These pillars include, first, inspiring our future through education. Education is a cornerstone of one of the beliefs for the San Manuel Band Mission Indians. It's the way they believe that we can improve not only our own personal lives, our individual lives, but the welfare of our families and our communities as well. Empowering lives through economic development and other developments within our communities and within our nation. Reinforcing healthy and resilient communities through overall health care and well-being of our citizens and our communities. And then preserving cultural traditions and empowering Indian country is a specific unit of our work, and we want to ensure that Indian country is served and empowered to really to pursue their self-determination goals. So San Manuel wants to be more than just a funder in this region. After these many years, we have learned that helping our nonprofit partners to develop capacity and their capabilities are also important goals. Webinars covering the San Manuel Charitable Giving Program with different will be offered throughout this year. This is only the first webinar for 2021. And I want to thank our strategic philanthropy team, first of all, for their commitment to our nonprofit partners and to the Salmon Wells giving mission that they are so familiar with. And to you, our wonderful, partners and guests, please again do everything you can to stay safe, be healthy, protect yourselves, your families, your homes, and your communities. We're going to get through this in sometime this year. We hope we're going to pray and continue to work toward that end. Thank you so much for joining us. Please enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake, for joining us this morning, and thank you for sharing such great insight about the tribe and our charitable giving efforts in the community. Moving forward, the Strategic Philanthropy team will share information about our new pillars and charitable giving process. Please note that some of the information that we'll share this morning will sound similar to some of the previous work we have done in the past. The tribe's giving pillars were created based on some of this work that has been refined and includes new elements to the charitable giving program. The first is our education pillar called Our Future Through Education, where we support programs that create pathways to a better future through education. Our funding areas include STEM programming in local K-12 schools. Our funding goes to support projects related to science, technology, engineering, and math. We also support after-school programming to help students reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens. For example, we support programs like Think Together, an after-school program that provides academic services to students attending local schools in San Bernardino and Riverside County. The tribe also funds scholarship programs for high school and college level students in need of financial assistance to cover tuition and education-related expenses. For example, we support local community colleges by providing monetary support for student scholarships. College access is another area that we fund, assisting students that desire to pursue education beyond high school. For example, we support College Horizons, who is an organization that supports the higher education of Native American students by providing college and graduate admissions workshops to Native students across the nation. The tribe also supports college and career readiness programs that provide successful transitions between high school and college, or work with students to help them gain the skills, knowledge, and expertise needed for their post-secondary success. For example, we support AVID programs that are designed to help underachieving students with high academic potential prepare for entrance to colleges and universities. Community-based arts and music programming is another area that we fund. For example, the tribe supports the San Bernardino Symphony Youth and Family Concert Series, who provide services to local school districts in the region. Our second pillar, health pillar, is called Reinforcing Health and Resilient Communities, where we partner with community-based organizations, Native-led organizations, and local agencies that uplift and support the development and resilience of our communities. Our funding areas include direct healthcare services, including education, prevention, and disease management. For example, Loma Linda Ronald McDonald House, who provides comfort, care, and support to children and families in Southern California. The tribe also supports programs that provide career pathway programs through workforce development and training opportunities. For example, San Manuel Gateway, in partnership with Loma Linda University, was established to provide the Inland Empire with entry-level job training and educational opportunities in the medical field. Another area is disaster response and mitigation efforts that support and protect our communities. The tribe also supports programs that provide direct services for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Last, under the health pillar, is environmental organizations supporting environmental issues. For example, we support Mojave Desert Land Trust, whose mission is to protect the Mojave Desert ecosystem and its scenic and cultural resource values. Alberto, please cover our other pillars.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this joyful morning. I wanted to take some time to talk about, our new giving pillar with empowering lives. Jake talked a little bit about, the shift that we had from our program areas into our new giving pillars. Through our empowering lives giving pillar, We stand up for those who need basic service, including food and shelter, and we stand with those who served our country. To further define that, there's a few different components that we fund under this program pillar. The first that I want to point out that is very important to us is housing. We want to make sure that we continue to support transitional housing programs in our region and across Indian country. We want to continue to provide emergency shelter opportunities for the homeless, the chronically homeless. And of course, probably a more prevalent issue right now with a lot of the moratoriums, a lot of the challenges going on with evictions, with families and those in need. We want to make sure that we continue to support homeless prevention programs and rapid rehousing opportunities, right? Especially during these times. This is another area that we want to continue to focus on efforts are. We also want to continue to support our efforts to our veterans and military families. We understand that this is a group for us that we want to ensure that we continue to support through our charitable giving program under our Empowering Lives Giving pillar. And of course, we want to make sure that we continue to provide senior programming opportunities to continue to increase the quality of lives for our senior citizens. So this means community centers tailored for our senior friends. We want to make sure that we continue to support these programs because these are very important to us. And of course, another program area that we've recently started venturing off to more is supporting emergency shelters or programs that provide support to victims of domestic violence. This also includes programs that, have aid or continue to support, those that have been affected by human trafficking. As we all probably know here in the Inland Empire, that's an issue that unfortunately continues to rise for us. So we want to make sure we're at the forefront with that. And of course, housing, I talked a little bit about that. An example with a housing project that we recently supported. The tribe provided a $7.3 million grant to Mary's Mercy Center to develop Mary's Village, which is going to provide transitional housing for homeless men in San Bernardino County. And of course, this is a very large grant for us that we've done in the past, but I think that those are the types of grant opportunities that we're looking for. Of course, to get to the $7 million, it takes some time, right? It doesn't happen in one shot, but, really want to kind of provide perspective on that program. And lastly, with everything going on, we also understand that civil legal aid to families and to those, in our region is very important to us. So we kept this at the forefront that we want to continue to provide civil legal aid to families who are in need and support, in the courtrooms and items like that, because we understand that, these types of things, can be fairly expensive, for some families. And we want to make sure that we continue to offer the support. An example of a group that we support is the Legal Aid Society of San Bernardino. We continue to support them because we believe in the work that they do. Next slide, please. And, as Jake mentioned a little bit about our preserving cultural traditions and empowering Indian country, we want to make sure that we continue, as a tribal government or as a Native community here at San Manuel, we want to make sure that we continue to provide cultural education programs for many of those tribal communities. We want to make sure that we continue to support cultural gatherings or any heritage celebrations or any other cultural centers that, can help a lot of our Native partners to continue to preserve their sovereignty and also, to continue their culture. We want to make sure that we keep this at the forefront. And lastly, we want to also focus more on environmental protection and conservation, and, that includes the preservation of wildlife and other resources that are very important to those communities. That's something that at the forefront that we want to make sure that we continue to support. And up next, this kind of wraps up our different program pillars. Up next, we have Cami Ray James, who's going to talk a little bit more about our application process and the operational framework. Cami Ray?
Thank you, Alberto. So today I'll be going over the documents required for a completed grant proposal. The first required document is a completed application, which can only be found and submitted online through our San Manuel Cares website. And this opens on February 1st. And then the deadline in which the application will close will be on April 30th. The following documents I'll be discussing will be submitted as attachments with the completed application, starting with the project budget. The project budget must be completed on the San Manuel template, which is available within the application. In the template, you will need to include the total program budget amount, the amount requested from San Manuel, and any secured or pending income amounts. The program budgets that are not completed on the San Manuel template will be considered incomplete. Next is the current organizational operation budget. This budget does not need to be completed on the San Manuel template. You can submit this on your own template or whichever budget sheet that you have. Also, all organizations will need to submit a signed W-9 on the most recent 2018 form. We did include the website, which you can find this form, and that form is the recent one, which we will need. And everyone who needs to submit the W-9 includes public schools and government agencies. All sections must be completed, including lines 1 through 7, part 1 and part 2 on that form. It's also important to note that the address that is provided on the W-9 will be the address that the checks will be mailed to you or payment if your grant is approved. Along with the W-9, other tax documents that are required for consideration are a current IRS tax ruling letter. This excludes government agencies and schools, as well as a current audited financial statement and current 990 form. Next slide, please. Documents that go hand in hand with the project budget is a confirmation of support, proof of the secured or pending income from other funding sources that you included on the project budget on the template. You will need to include that with the application. So proof of that can include a copy of a check or an approval letter, and the confirmation must be within the program year that you're applying for. Finally, depending on the type of organization you are or what you're submitting a grant proposal for, you will need a signed letter from the principal, tribal chair, or city manager if you're applying for a school, tribal, or city government. And you also need to include a quote or bid if you are applying for a specific item. We strongly recommend that you submit your application and documents well before the deadline date and not wait until the last day so that we can request any incorrect or missing documents before the deadline date. However, it is not always guaranteed that we will be able to review beforehand just because of the volume of applications that we receive. So it's best practice to just ensure that everything is completed before you submit the application. Applications and documents received after the April 30th deadline will not be reviewed and will be considered as incomplete. Also, if you submit an application on or before the April 30th deadline and the documents are incorrect or are missing, your application will not be reviewed and will also be considered incomplete. You will need to submit a new grant application for consideration in our next review cycle if your application is not submitted on time. That concludes my section on the required documents, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to Heidi.
All right, thank you, Cami Ray. I'll be going over some of our new application questions. So I know, you all might be used to our old format, our old application, and we have some exciting new additional questions that I think will really help us understand more about your program, what's going on in the organization. So the first question is, how are the demographics of your community, clients, the organization serves reflected in the composition of your board, staff, and volunteers? Really looking at, community integration. Are you integrated in the communities that you're serving? Are, the communities you're serving able to have a voice in the programming? And then also provide general ethnicity information with staff and volunteers. This will be a drop-down menu, very similar to the format of the previous question on the application, which is still there asking about the ethnicity of your communities. Again, looking at the community integration, and then provide a brief description of your board of directors. We're not looking for a resume of each of your board of directors on this on this question. Really just some general information about what kind of expertise are you looking for with your board of directors? Do you have a certain number that you want to achieve with your board of directors? Or, how are these individuals selected to be on the boards? What information is important to you? What is your criteria? That sort of information. And then we're asking you now to select which giving pillar your request falls under, and then explain how it relates to your selected pillar. And then what are some of the strengths of your community, of the community your organization is serving? How do these strengths impact your programming? Again, we really, I think many times applications, grant applications, we just ask, what's the issue? What are you trying to solve? But we're really trying to shift into more of an asset-based mindset. And, every community has some great strengths that I think you'd be able to draw from. And then let's see. And then we have some yes/no questions as well. So we want to know, does your organization have a grievance policy, and do you make reasonable accommodations for individuals with a disability? We're also adding an optional attachment, any document related to the program that supports your request. This could be anything like you get a great letter of recommendation or a great write-up about your program. Maybe it's some documents that you're referring to in your application that you want to include. Maybe it's client feedback. We leave it up to you. It's just any document that will support and enrich your application. And we also have some modified questions on the application. So you all are used to our projected number served question. Now we're splitting that up, and we're looking for the overall projected number served and then the projected number served with grant funds. In the past, applicants have given us one or the other, and it's been a little difficult to compare applications because some organization might put in for the overall number for the whole program, others might put in just for grant funds. So this will help clarify things on our end. And then what are the plans for evaluating the impact and success of the proposed activity? Indicate what process and or impact information will be collected to measure and demonstrate success. Is now improved to what methods will you use to evaluate the proposed activity? What information will be collected? How will the evaluation results be used to strengthen future programming? We really want to see what you're doing for evaluation, and we want to make sure that those findings are put back into your program to strengthen it over time. We have describe the long-term strategy for funding of the project program, include your fundraising efforts and other grants obtained for this project program, to how do your organization's financial, programmatic, evaluation, and leadership strategies contribute to the sustainability of this program or project? We're really looking at this as more of a comprehensive question. We know that many different things fall into the sustainability of a program, so we're looking to make sure there's interest coming in from external sources, funders, the community, and staff as well. Then, does your organization offer any volunteer opportunities that our team members can participate in? Goes to, does your organization offer any volunteer opportunities that our team members can participate in? If so, how do we find out about these opportunities? This is just a small tweak. So in the past, sometimes organizations have spent a good deal of time telling us about some volunteer opportunities that maybe have passed by the time the application has been reviewed, and we're able to really partake in some of these volunteer opportunities. Now it's a little more streamlined. You can just say yes, you're interested, or no, you're not interested. Either is fine. And if you are interested, just information about how we can find out more. And then I also want to give a few, tips and tricks for a really outstanding proposal. I know many times organizations think of a grant proposal as kind of a necessary evil, right? You have this program you're really excited about. You need funding to get there, and the grant proposal is just kind of something that you begrudgingly have to write. We're hoping that you change your mindset on that a little bit, because it's really a good opportunity for you to write about the program, think about the program. Sometimes I think when you're writing about your program, you find holes that could be fixed, ways that could be improved. Maybe you have external audiences reading your application, and they're giving feedback about ways the program could be improved. I think it's also a great way to make sure everyone's on the same page. We're asking for financial information, for program information, and whatnot. So, there's really a lot of benefit that can come from writing a grant proposal, aside from just the funding. So with that in mind, I'll get more into my tips and tricks. Basically, going over the basic proposal structure. So these are, a few of the reasons why we ask the questions that we do. We ask about organization history, organization diversity. This gives credit to this gives credibility to your organization, making sure that, yeah, you are a good fit for this program. You are a good fit for this. Then the problem, methods, outcomes are really the core of the argument, right? You've identified this problem in your community. You have this goal in mind that you want to fix, and then the methods are how you're getting there. Future support showcases program investment. As I mentioned, investment for programming comes internally and externally. And then the budget as well outlines the financial details and how you're going to solve the problem that you've outlined in the core of the argument. So everything should kind of, weave in together, and it should all make sense all the way through. From, yes, this organization is credible. They're good to do this. They've identified a problem and an attainable solution, and they've got a good roadmap to get there. And then a few just general tips. Really, make sure that the problem explains the situation. I like to think of the 5 whys. I do the 5 whys for many things. It's a really helpful, quick tip that you can use for grant proposals, for programs, for really any number of things. If you have an issue and you think, oh, well, why is this issue happening? Well, why is that issue happening? And you go back and back and back, at least 5 whys. So you're really digging down a little deeper than just the surface level. And we understand, not all organizations are poised to get to that 5th level, that 5th why. But, I think as long as you go down as far as you can, and you use that to kind of be a framework for your program. So if you are thinking, oh gosh, child malnutrition is really big in my community. Well, why is that happening? Well, the kids aren't getting enough fruits and vegetables. Well, why aren't they getting enough fruits and vegetables? Oh, because they've never had fruits and vegetables that taste good. Well, why don't they have it taste good? And just go on until you find a deeper answer to your issue. Also think about the significance of the issue, and then the various causes. Make sure that the problem causes, the problem and the causes shape the methods. So this is something that a common mistake that we see, where you've got this problem here and the cause, but the method doesn't quite match what you're trying to solve. And then also use a mix of storytelling and statistics. When you use statistics, please don't forget to include your sources. And then tailor the proposal to the funder. We look at the website, scour the website for information about funders' priorities, what they're looking for in the grants. Look at the application instructions as well with a fine-tooth comb to make sure you're hitting all the points. And then provide realistic view of your program organization. Not every, we know no organization is perfect. So we want to know your strengths and weaknesses, and we expect to hear some challenges. And then consistency is key. Small things like making sure that the program title on the application matches the program title on the budget really goes a long way to making your proposal seem like it's really thought out, that your organization is on top of the mission that they're trying to achieve. And then clear and concise writing. I like to use the search filter to find the search feature to find overused words. You can do Control F, and if you think you've used the words participants way too many times, you can Control F, write in participants and search, and the document will bring up all the times you use that. It's something that I use quite a bit, a really helpful trick for me, and hopefully you'll find some use from that as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gina for the Q&A period.
Thank you, Heidi and Alberto and Cami Ray and Fawn. That was such great information. I hope everyone took notes, and it will help and be useful for them when they're creating their next proposal. So we'll go ahead and start with Q&A. I do see some really good questions being posted in the chat box. We also wanted to start with some that we kind of see as most common questions. So Alberto, you want to go ahead and jump in?
Yes, I think one of the common questions would be that if we can share with the groups is, will my application be closed if I don't submit all the required documentations before with my application submittal?
Yes, so that goes with incomplete applications. If all your documents are not submitted or are not correct by the deadline date, then your application at that point would be closed, and then you'd have to wait for the next grant cycle to submit another application.
And then my following question, and then we'll open it up for some of the questions in the chat is, Heidi, can you talk a little bit about, or Fawn, can you talk about how competitive is our grant review process?
Sure. We usually receive, anywhere from 100 to 200 applications cycle. I think last cycle was about right in the middle. So it can be definitely a competitive process. And, we try to divide funds between each of the program areas. So, it depends also what program area our giving pillar you're applying for. Also, how long-standing your history is with San Manuel as well. Have you already, proved your effectiveness as an organization, or are you still attempting to do so? Those types of things can really affect your shot chances. And then also how well your application fits into our giving pillars. If it's not quite a fit and you're trying to make it a fit, then chances are you can probably expect to maybe be and you'll have a little less of a shot of funding than someone who really fits into our giving pillars.
Thanks, Heidi. I wanted to add, for San Manuel's giving process, it's very competitive. So like Heidi was saying, we want to make sure whatever application or program you submit for funding, you just want to make sure it fits under the giving pillars. And then also, I know Heidi mentioned some of the whys. Just try to be really clear in the information that you're relaying, not only, what you're requesting, but also maybe some of the results information. How successful is your program? Think about the impact that you're having on the community. We like to know information like that. So that kind of information stands out, and, it makes it to me, more competitive, when I'm reviewing an application. But that's what I wanted to add there. Are there any other questions from the chat box?
Yes, we do have a few, and I'll go ahead and start with those. So we have, can you choose multiple pillars if your program falls under more than one?
I can, we highly encourage you to pick only one. We do understand that, there is some program pillars that there's crossover between, housing and education component, right? But we highly encourage you to only pick one, and I think once you're contacted by a program officer to discuss the grant application, if we feel, that it's stronger in another giving pillar, staff will go ahead and make that change internally. But we highly encourage you to only pick one, and we'll kind of take it from there once we start reviewing the formal application.
Thank you, Alberto. Next question. For a nonprofit organization, can the support letter come from our board chair? Someone want to take that question?
So the confirmation of support, we're really looking for examples of funding from other sources. So we're looking for an approval letter from a funder that, hey, your application is accepted, you got this amount of funding, or a copy of the check to prove that you received funding. So I would really caution you to provide that information from external support.
Thank you, Heidi. Let's see here. We have someone asking, our current grant ends during the application period. We understand that our final report must be cleared before we can apply again. If it takes more than a month to clear, it will cut us right at the deadline or beyond for applying. Can we apply again during the window, realizing that the successful completion of our current grant is a requirement for continuing funding?
I can take this one. So usually when we receive an end of year report, we give it at least maybe like a 2-week window for us to review and respond. But if you feel like you're bumping up against the deadline, I would definitely submit your application, because your program officer, they should, be able to reach out to you and respond within that time frame. So to answer that response, yes, I would submit the application.
I think always creating a draft too is good practice. And that way, when you do get the clearance, you can just go ahead and submit it.
Mm-hmm. And then I would also add on to say, reach out to your program officer and tell them what's going on and that you're bumping up against this deadline, and just be transparent on what you're trying to achieve. And I think that would also be helpful.
All right. If your organization is small enough and does not require audits, what else might be acceptable documentation?
I think some of the things that I've seen in the past is, show, that you go back to your board and there's some checks and balances, right? With everyone, we understand that sometimes organizations have, especially our grassroots or smaller nonprofits have gross receipts of less than 50,000. So, just show us your project budget, something along those lines that really kind of shows, hey, this is the approved budget that was approved by our board of directors, or items, along those lines. That should be fine. Just make sure it's a nice template, and it's very set up, because at times, we often see, just someone coming forward in a Microsoft Word Excel in a Microsoft Word document, just saying, this is my revenue, this is my expenses, and that's not enough. It will be rejected. This is a competitive process, so we want to make sure that we give something that's readable and that makes sense.
All right. How are we on time, Heidi? Do we have time for one more question?
Oops. We do. We have about 5 minutes left for Q&A.
Okay. So can tribal community centers apply for STEM K through 12 learning, or is it just for local schools? It's a good question.
To that question, I would say yes. If you are representing a tribal government or an education department under your tribal government, I would definitely submit an application. But if you would like, you can always reach out. We can schedule a phone call before you submit your application, just so we can talk about your program. I'm open to that.
Thank you, Fawn. Let's see here. Do you have a particular geographic area that you mainly support with your grant approvals?
So with our geographic area, we focus on the Inland Empire, which includes both counties. There's definitely, given our geographic area in San Bernardino County and having our ties to our ancestral lands, we do, prefer to, have a stronger preference for proposals that fall in San Bernardino County, but we are open for both. As far as for our friends from our other tribal communities, we tend to focus all across, the United States, from California all the way to New York. And we recently just kind of started venturing into some of our native nations out in Alaska as well. We're not fully there yet, but I would, it's safe to say that in the lower 48, we do support grant proposals all the way to South Dakota and North Dakota and so on.
All right, thank you, Alberto. Are any pillars more focused on the San Bernardino area than others?
Yeah, I would say that the pillars are all very open, for geographic locations. So as far as that goes, we're not really looking at the applications as far as, this pillar is more for, San Bernardino County. We're really just interested in what the program is, and as long as it fits into our areas of, our areas of giving, then you're good to apply.
Thank you, Heidi. Can an approval letter from tribes be a resolution from the entire council?
I can take that one. Yes, normally whenever we have requests from other tribal governments, we can either be a letter from the board chairman or chairwoman, I think that suffices, or also an approved resolution where it shows that the whole council is in support of X and Y, X tribe, seeking funding from our grant program. So yes, the resolution is accepted.
All right. Let's see here. We have, let's see, I work for a fire department and we have a nonprofit organization made up of the firefighters. We raise money to put on community events. We would like to know if any funding can be used to buy equipment or supplies that indirectly will be used towards the safety and protection of the community.
So for this one, this one, I would definitely reach out to one of our program officers whenever we have these types of requests. Since this more than likely is for a city, we like to coordinate with the city as well, on what the ask is and so on. But I wouldn't discourage you from not submitting a request. We just want to make sure that, we understand that the city is submitting an overall request, because at times we do get the Public Works Department wants us, or the Parks and Rec Department wants us to help us with a park, but also the Fire Department wants some supplies as well. So we want to make sure that it's done in a coordinated manner.
Thank you, Alberto. I think that was all the questions we got to. I know there were some in there asking if the presentation was going to be sent to everyone. And yes, it will be sent. Give us about a week to get that together, and that will be emailed to you. And so I think this concludes our Q&A session. Did anyone want to provide any other input on Alberto or Heidi? All right. So we'll go ahead and move to our announcements next, I believe. So we'll start. We have a special announcement from our San Manuel Human Resources Department, and I would like to introduce Jasmine Takashita, and she will go ahead and give her presentation.
Thank you, Jana. My name is Jasmine Takashita, and I am fortunate to have the opportunity to be the Human Resources Director of Talent Acquisition for our great enterprise. I've been with San Manuel for about 3 years. Today, I'm pleased to share information with this team on the exciting growth and employment opportunities we have in 2021. And I'd also like to be able to help the community in a different way in encouraging our partners' constituents to become members of our San Manuel team and have gainful employment. And we can move on to the next slide. Thank you. So if you've passed our casino lately, you've probably had a glimpse of what we have coming in 2021, but I'd like to give you a better peek of what's under our tent. So for this year, we are looking at summer 2021, what we're calling phase 1, which includes an expanded gaming space and 24-hour restaurant, a high-end dining venue, and new retail shops. Then coming in fall winter 2021, we will have phase 2, which will include a hotel with 429 luxury rooms and suites. Following that, in 2022, we have phase 3, which will be a dedicated event venue. Next slide. So our employment needs up and coming for 2021 will include over 2,000 permanent full-time jobs. All different levels of jobs will be available from entry level to managerial level. Some of the roles that will be available include cooks, dishwashers, housekeepers, bakers, and then casino operations positions such as slots attendants, cashiers, and table games positions. Some of the requirements that go into employment with San Manuel includes a background check and gaming license. Most of these roles do include a requirement to have a high school diploma or equivalency. However, we are part of a program which allows for a few positions, including cook, baker, and housekeepers that do not require high school diplomas. And we have a GED Works program for these employees so that once they become employed in one of these positions that does not require a high school diploma, they will be eligible to enter our GED Works program, which can assist them in obtaining their GED and provide them with future career advancements within our enterprise. Next slide. So our pathway to employment for our community partners would be to visit sanmanuelcareers.com/community partners. Here you'll be able to explore casino and tribal government operation jobs, take a look at the details of the position and the requirements, skills requirements or educational requirements for those positions, apply for the role for which you're qualified, and that'll enter you into the recruitment process. A recruiter will reach out to you and provide you with either career counseling or an interview and help you to proceed through the pathway of employment with San Manuel. So one thing I just did want to note is that during the time in the pandemic, we are currently conducting all virtual interviews and onboarding in order to protect our employees and community members. This will continue out as long as we need to in order to make sure that we're really securing and taking into consideration not contributing to any type of growth of the pandemic. And I will open it up to any type of questions that we may have.
Looks like we have one question in the chat box. Do you have the employment opportunities in a format we can post on our organization's social media accounts?
We'd be happy to provide additional information, positions, and maybe a one-sheeter that can be circulated throughout our partners' constituents. Yes.
If I can jump in too, sometimes San Manuel Casino or San Manuel Careers, the Facebook page and our Instagram will post when positions are posted. So that's also a great opportunity for our partners to share those posts to their pages as well.
Absolutely.
And if I may add, the reason why we invited our human resource department to be a part of this presentation today is because we understand that some of the populations or some of your program participants sometimes are often in needs of employment opportunities. And we have, as Jasmine mentioned, we do have some employment opportunities available now and more to come in the future. So we definitely want to kind of get the word out, and please feel free to share this information with your partners and so on, and please feel free to reach out to our office, and we can direct you to our human resource department, and get you coordinated if you have any other further questions. And Gina, I think we can move on to our announcements for now. Thank you, Jasmine, and our human resource team for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate that great information you shared. So to get started with our announcements, we also, want to again let you know the recording for today's presentation and the slides will be emailed, but also available on our Commonwealth Cares website, where you can access those at any time. We will be sending out a survey to everyone who attended today's webinar. So please, we ask if you can fill that out. It does help us, kind of improve and what we can do better for our next webinars, and also helps us with picking the next topics too. I did forget to mention in the beginning that today also kicks off our 2021 webinar series. So we will be hosting monthly webinars throughout the year. We have our February one scheduled already, and it is scheduled for February 10th. And the topic will be on outcomes, thinking, and management, shifting focus from activities to impact. And this seminar will actually be hosted by Candid. The flyer for that will go out in the next couple of weeks. So we ask, if you do get the flyer, please register as soon as possible. And then also our grant cycle dates. The application link will go live February 1st. You will have from February 1st to April 30th to apply. And you can find the link on our new website, commonwealthcares.org. I did list it in the chat box a couple of times, so please make sure you check the website for the link February 1st. And, if you have any other questions for us, you can always email us and we'll get those answered. We hope that you enjoyed today's presentation, and we hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And Mark is suggesting music for the next webinar, so we'll be sure to add that in.
Put your music suggestions in the survey.